Hello, good morning everyone. This is the presentation of Group 1. This is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material. So, a general term, globalization, refers to how the world has become more connected economically, politically, socially, and culturally over the time. In this general sense, its roots to go back to the era of agrarian societies as empires expanded to trade networks grew. This connection really accelerated and encompassed the whole world after the Columbian Exchange. When people, plants, goods, disease, and ideas were shared across all world zone, the lives of humans everywhere changes. In some regions, this was mainly positive. For example, the introduction of more caloric food increases life expectancy. However, in other regions, the effects were more negative, such as slavery and exploitation of the land of resources for profit elsewhere, known as deficiency cycle. After the Industrial Revolution, the world became even more interconnected. And some scholars say that the globalization really began in this period. In this sense, globalization is about around the world becoming so connected that local life is shaped by what is happening in other parts of the world. This challenges our definition of community in some ways. Through the Industrial Revolution, local global connections like this began to be established. Transportation and communication advancement lead to an increase in travel and sharing ideas, collective learnings. Imperialistic nations exerted control over the areas of the world. The legacy of this colonization was, of course, negative in many ways when you consider slavery, destruction of traditional cultures, and the depletion of resources. But there were some effects most think of as positive, including the new technologies like railways and telegraph lines connected more people and ideas around the world. Globalization effects on communities and economies. Globalization has touched all aspects of the human existence. In the modern era, voluntary migration as well as forced migration have resulted in the diverse human population in many parts of the world. America, which is often called a melting pot, is a prime example of how the mass movement of people has shaped the modern world. Today's Americans come from all corners of the globe, but equally diverse populations can be found in parts of Mexico, South Africa, Indonesia, and many other places. And as people move, they bring with them their language, culture, food, and costumes. These become interwoven within an existing society and created diversity which should be celebrated.
Manfred's ideology of globalization. So, what is ideology? So, ideology is a set of opinions or beliefs of group and individual. Very often, so ideology refers to a set of political beliefs or a set of ideas characterize a particular culture. So, what is globalization? So, globalization is a process of interaction and integration among people, companies, and governments worldwide. So, Manfred Steger is a prominent scholar who has extensively studied and written about the concept of globalization. So, his ideology of globalization centers around the idea that globalization is a multi-dimensional process that encompasses various economic, political, cultural, and social aspects. So, Steger's approach to understanding globalization goes beyond economic integration. So, and highlights that the complex of interconnectedness of the world. So, Steger's view of globalization. So, first is economic dimension. So, first, economic dimension The increased cross-border flow of cash, information, and services and goods is referred to as this in this dimension. So, the growth of international firms, trade agreements, and the financial networks are all aspects of economic globalization. So, it contributed the globalization. To globalize, there should be an improvements or progress. So example of this is the increase of connectivity. So increase of connectivity with the advent modern communication, the transportation technologies, the people suddenly find themselves connected to global economy. They can now access informations about the market trends, prices, and demands around the world. So second is the trade and outsourcing. So second is the trade and outsourcing. As the people learn about the global market demands, they realize that certain crops and crafts they produce have value beyond their immediate community. So they start growing crops that are in demand internationally. So such as exotic fruits and herbs. So additionally, they begin producing handicrafts that can be sold to tourists visiting the area. So third is the supply chains. So supply chains, the people becomes part of the global supply chain. Uh, the cash crops and handicrafts are no longer solely for local consumption. So they are now integrated into larger networks of production and distribution. So this integration requires the villagers that to adapt their practices to meet international standards and expectations. So fourth is the foreign investments. So entrepreneurs from abroad recognize the potential of the people's resources and cheap labor. So they establish processing facilities, factories in the area to capitalize on the available resources and the low production costs. So fifth is the labor mobility. So some people seek better economic opportunities. So this is an example because we peoples are seeking for job opportunities. So they migrate to nearby towns, cities, and even the other countries. Like for example, the OFW, we go abroad to get higher salary per month. So labor mobility, in short, or in other words, it is searching for higher paying jobs. So next is income inequality. So while the economic changes bring prosperity to the villagers, they also result in income disparities with the community. So those engaged in cash crops production, export-oriented manufacturing, and the tourism-related activities may experience improved economic conditions. So they will more benefit the income inequality. So they are the ones who has higher salaries. So however, those remain engaged in subsistence farming or traditional crops may find their income stagnant or declining. So what do you mean by stagnant or declining? So declining means lower. So the income inequality is somewhat negative effect or not beneficial for the local farmers. So that's it. So second is the digital technology. So the exchange or diffusion of concepts, principles, customs, and cultural artifacts among nations is referred to as cultural globalization. This dimension emphasizes how technology, media, and migration are bringing civilizations closer together. So example of cultural globalization include the acceptance of foreign companies, as what told earlier. So the foreign investors, the expansion of popular music, the accessibility of international cuisine in many nations. So example of this is the example of digital technology is communication. So communication digital technology has revolutionized communication by enabling instant messaging, video calls, and social media platforms. People can connect with each other regardless of geographical boundaries. So we can connect to each other by using our phone, using the platform or other social media like Facebook, TikTok, and so many other apps that we can use to communicate. And second is the business and economy. So digital technology has disrupted traditional business models and enabled the rise of e-commerce, allowing the companies to reach a wider customer base online, automation, data analytics, and artificial intelligence or the AI. So improve efficiency and decision making in various industries.
Good day, sir. I'm here to continue the Manfred's view about globalization. So, the fourth view of Manfred is political dimension. So, political globalization is the setting emphasizes the expanding impact on international governance, system, transnational organizations, and global institutions. For example, include governmental organizations, NGOs that focus on the international issues, including human rights, um, environmental protections, and humanitarian aid, as well as the United Nations and the World Trade Organization, and etc. So when we say uh, political organization, it will always refer to expansion of political interaction across countries. Political engagement are extended to other countries, and it also refers to international organization like the United Nations and the World Health Organization. So this both international organization, this organization aims to develop peace in all countries, especially to the United Nations. So their policies are becoming our basis that they are implemented. So at this point, we can see the political globalization by following the rules and policies or are implemented by them or to be part of this the membership of this international organization. For example, and the issue between the West Philippine Sea and the South China Sea that being settled by a tribunal court. This already considered as political globalization. So in this act, we acknowledge the politics because they are able to settle in it politically, and the one who settled it is the United Nations. So it is form of political organization. So the fourth one is the international trade agreement. So the movement of people, both as migrants and tourists, and how impacts societies are the main topics of social component of globalization. So it covers topics like diversity, transnational identities, and the expansion of social movement around the world. The social dimension can be illustrated by migration patterns, diaspora population, and the rise of online activism. So the migration is one of the key drivers of globalization. There is evidence of new complicities in the amount type of origins of immigrant amount around the world. Technology and communication advancement have made it easier to move possible for the people to move. For example, our overseas Filipino workers have a bigger impact to the contribution of our economy through the remittance sent back home to support their families and loved ones. The remittance play a crucial role in the financial well-being of household in the country. Additionally, remittance received in foreign currency contribute to the boosting the country's exchange reserves. This threatens the ability to of the Philippine peso and support the economy, and this play a significant impact of the OFWs on the Philippines, and showcasing their dedication and commitment to their families and the nation as a whole. So, as a conclusion to this topic about the Manfred Steger ideology, so Manfred Steger ideology about globalization challenged conventional views by presenting a multi-dimensional and comprehensive framework that acknowledge um, the economics, political, cultural, and social facet of this complex phenomenon. His concept like globality, deterritorialization, and retailization, localization, and global citizenship, and global et- ethics provide valuable insights into the ways in which globalization shapes societies and identities while not without criticism. Stickers usually remains a significant contribution to the ongoing discourse on globalization, encouraging us to understand and its multifaceted nature and implications for the world at large. And that's all.
Hello everyone, I am Nelgc Castañares. I'm here to discuss about the sentiment of Michael Frieden and globalization. So before we start with our discussion, here's our main overview of our topic for today. First, Epiral Constellation. And number two, challenges of 21st century analysis. Number three, intellectual imagination. Frieden article process a number of virtues. First, ephemeral constellations. Political belief that the system are ephemeral constellation whose shifting morphologies demand periodic scholarly reassessments. First, in a recent on shifting ideological boundaries, Michael Frieden argues conceivingly that the current fragmentation of established ideologies and the revived uncertainty concerning the ideology still exists have highlighted the difficulty of capturing the changing of morphologies of political belief system. In order to address this problem, the British political theories propose two fertile lines of inquiry. First, to question the implicit of holism in the nation of the ideological family, and the second to query the dominant conventions of classifying, categorizing, and and with a view to establish the degree to which constitute useful cluster. Examining the first line of inquiry more closely, Frieden briefly discussed globalism is a possible holistic contender, but quickly retreat to the skeptical view that it is far too early to pronounce in globalism status as an ideology. The second is challenges 21st century analysis. It, it challenged 21st century analysts of the ideology to replace antiquated, popular, and conventional classification systems that might obscure more than they illuminate. So this means that the scholar must be willing to entertain the possibility of the whole ideological transformation, and this to prepare to rethink, revise, and perhaps to replace outdated the conceptual morphologies that no longer capture the dynamic of the actually existing the political belief system. The third is intellectual imagination. It displays considerably intellectual imagination by calling for experimental thought exercise designed to redraw old ideological boundaries and classify ideological systems. Freedom recommends imaginative thoughts exercises with an aim to provide insight into some organizing future according to which ideologies can be reclassified. Indeed, he in historical with the experimental reclassification designed based on select features of human behavior, such as pride, fear, gregariousness, complicity, vulnerability, insubordination, and self-depreciation. That's all. Thank you.
This is Deck Cadet Paris Javanmar, and I'm going to report Arjun Appadurai introduction. Arjun Appadurai, an Indian American anthropologist recognized as a major theorist in global studies. And basically, Arjun Appadurai was born in 1949 as an Indian American, and then he got directly into being an anthropologist. And through that, he made a name for himself and become the major theorist in globalization studies in his anthropological work. He discussed the importance of the modernity of nation states and globalization, and also the humanities dean of the University of Chicago, a director of the City Center in Globalization at Yale University, and also he is the former University of Chicago professor of anthropology and South Asian languages and civilization. And there are a lot of roles that Arjun Appadurai, just like the education and human development studies professor at NU or NYU, Steinhardt School of Culture. Appadurai also taught for many years at University of Pennsylvania and the departments of anthropology and South Asia study. During his years at Pennsylvania, in 1984, he also hosted a conference through the Fan History program. This conference led to the publication of the volume called The Social Life of Things, Commodities in Cultural Perspective on 1986. And also later, he joined the faculty at the New School University that he currently is a faculty member of New York University Media Culture and Communication Department and Steger School. So basically, Aparudai has a lot of experiences in terms of being a teacher and also, yeah, a lot of experiences in work. So that's why he's one of the major theorists.
Good day, sir. Good day, cadets. I'm Raymond Almario Roble, and I'm about to explain to you the theory of Aljun Appadurai. As we have already established, the globalization refers to the increasing pace and scope of interconnections. Crisscrossing the globe, anthropologist Arjun Appadurai has discussed this in terms of five specific scapes or flows: ethnoscape, technoscape, ideoscape, financescape, and mediascape. Thinking of globalization of terms of the people, things, and ideas that flow across national boundaries is a productive framework for understanding the shifting social landscape is in which contemporary people are often embedded in their daily lives. Ethnoscape refers to the flow of people across boundaries, while people such as labor, migrants, or refugees travel out of necessity in search of better opportunities for themselves and their families. Leisure travelers are also part of this scape. The World Tourism Organization, as a specialized branch of the United Nations, argues that tourism is one of the fastest growing commercial sectors and approximately 1 in 11 jobs is related to tourism in some way. Technoscape refers to the flow of technology. Apple's iPhone are just one example of how the movement of technologies across boundaries can radically affect day-to-day life. For people all along the commodity chain, sales records are surpassed with each release of a new iPhone, which with lines of customers spilling out of Apple stores and snaking around the block. Demand for this new product drives us a fast and furious pace of production. Workers who are struggling to keep up with demand are subjected to labor conditions most iPhone users would find abhorrent. Some even commit suicide as a result. Idioscapes refers to the flow of ideas. This can be small scale, such as an individual posting her or his personal views on Facebook for public consumption, or it can be larger and more systematic. Missionaries provide a key example. Christian missionaries to the Amazon region made it their explicit goal to spread their religious doctrines. As the experience of missionary turned logist Daniel Everett show, necessarily interpret the ideas they are brought in the way missionaries expect. Finanscape refers to the flow of money across political borders, like the other flows discussed by Apoduray. This phenomenon has been occurring from centuries. The Spanish, for example, conscripted indigenous laborers to mine the silver veins of the Potosi mines of Bolivia. The vast riches extracted from this region were used to pay Spain's debt. In Northern Europe, mediascapes refers to the flow of media across borders in earlier historic periods. It could take weeks or even months for entertainment and education content to travel from one location to another. From the other telegraph to the telephone and now the internet. Other digital communication media are far more easily and rapidly shared regardless of geographic borders.
The scapes of globalization. Anthropologist Arjuna Padurai has developed the concept of global cultural flow, defining the five scapes. The complexity and process globalization can be understood by the scapes. These five scapes are ethnoscapes, technoscapes, eduscapes, financescapes, and mediascapes. Arjuna Padurai is an anthropologist who developed the idea of scapes as a way to analyze different dimensions of the globalization and how they interact. He identified the five scapes that represent distinct global flows and influences. Each of these scapes represent a different aspect of globalization. Ethnoscapes refers to flow of people across culture and border. People move from one place to another throughout the world to various reasons. Labor migrants are to research for good wages. Refugee to escape from war, disaster. Tourists to travel research, conduct research work, etc. Ethnoscapes. This refers to movement of people across borders, including migrants, tourists, refugees, and other develops. Ethnoscapes highlight the dynamic and complex nature of global migration pattern interaction between people from different cultural backgrounds. Finanscape refers to the cross-border movement of capital, currencies, etc. It creates environment open trade. One can invest capital across its country's boundary according to his capabilities and desires. Finanscape. This scale focuses the movement of capital, money, financial instrument across globe. It includes activities, multinational corporation, international financial institution, and global markets. the shape economic interactions on a globe scale. Mediascape refers to the flows media, television, newspaper, magazine across borders. Nowadays, the internet is playing vital role. We can read newspaper from any countries and any time being any part of the world. The mediascape involves the flows, images, symbols, the ideologies, and cultural product through media platforms. This includes the global reach of television, film, music, literature, and other forms of cultural expression that contribute to the exchange of idea and cultural practices. Technoscape refers to flow of technology in the form of mechanical informational across the words like computer, mobile, machine, etc. Technology or the product of science is spreading all over the world, which has changed the lifestyle of pupils dramatically. Technoscape Technoscapes encompasses the global flow of technology, information, and communication. It includes the rapid dissemination information through the internet, the spread of digital media and mobility, technology and skills, professionals across borders.
Good day everyone, I'm Decadent Charles Arbiol and I'm here to discuss or to continue the topic about scales of globalization. This is a summarized discussion of Decadent Abarques. Scales of globalization. Thinking of globalization in terms of people, things, and ideas that flow across national boundaries is a productive framework for understanding the shifting social landscape in which contemporary people are often embedded in their daily lives. Question about their people migrate, their reasons for migration, the pace at which they travel, the ways their lives change as a result of their travels, and how their original communities change all can be addressed with this framework. Questions about goods and ideas that travel without complement with human agents can also be answered using a periodized notion of scapes. A parody provides useful tools for thinking about these various forms of circulation. Disentangling them in this way can also be misleading. Ultimately, the phenomena studied by most anthropologists will involve more than one of these scapes. Take clothing, for instance. Kelsey Timmerman, an author of whose undergraduate concentration has anthropology, was inspired to find out more about the lives of people who made this clothing. In a single day, he found the average American might be wearing clothes made in Honduras, Bangladesh, Cambodia, and China. Something as seemingly simple as t-shirt can actually involve in all five upper escapes. The transnational corporation responsible for the production of these shirts themselves are part of capitalism, an idea which has become part of the international ideascape. That financescape is uttered by a company of the US contracting a production facility in another country where labor costs is cheaper. The equipment needed to create these t-shirts are purchased and delivered to the production facility, thus altering the technoscape. The ethnoscape is affected by individuals migrating from their homes in rural villages to city centers, often disrupting traditional residence patterns in the process. Finally, the mediascape is involved in the marketing of these t-shirts. In economic space, the aspect of globalization focused on the expansion of integration of market across borders involves the movement of goods, service, capital, and technology, facilitated by multinational cooperation and international trade agreements. In Technoscape, the technological advancement in communication and transportation have revolutionized globalization. The internet, mobile phones, social media platforms, and efficient logistic network have made it easier for people to connect, collaborate, and share ideas across geographic boundaries. While political shape influence international politics by fostering intergovernmental organizations like United Nations, World Bank, and International Monetary Fund, and cultural escape has led to spread the exchange of cultural products, ideas, and practice between societies and mentioned earlier about t-shirt, and lastly mediascape, which plays a crucial role in shaping perception and disseminating information globally. Globalized media networks stream as satellite TV channels and online news platforms have the power to influence public opinion and shape narrative, leading to both positive and negative consequences. Overall, these scapes of globalization interact and influence each other, shaping the world. While globalization offers opportunities to our economic growth, cultural exchange, and technological process, it also presents challenges like inequality, cultural homogenization, and environmental degradation. That's all. Thank you.